When I turned 60, I thought I had made peace with the clutter in my home. I told myself, that's just part of aging. Things pile up because I don't have the same energy anymore. But then, one morning, I walked into my living room and felt something I didn't want to admit. It wasn't just the mess around me, it was the fear that maybe I was slowly losing control, not just of my space, but of my life. Have you ever felt that too? Then something surprising happened. A Japanese friend my age invited me over. Her home was small, old, nothing fancy, but it was calm, light, and completely mess-free. Not because she had a housekeeper, not because she spent hours scrubbing. The secret was 7 little habits that seemed almost too simple to matter, yet they changed everything. And here's the twist. These habits don't require strength, energy, or expensive tools. They don't even take much time. They are quiet choices, repeated gently, that keep her home in harmony and her spirit at peace. I realized something no one had ever put into words before. A tidy home at our age isn't about impressing anyone. It's about holding on to a sense of independence so we don't feel forgotten or helpless in our own space. I want to share these 7 habits with you, not as rules, but as gentle companions you can try, one at a time. By the end, I'll tell you the gem habit that touched me the most, the one that still keeps me grounded every evening. Stay with me, because it might be the soft key your heart has been waiting for. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from and how has your relationship with your home been lately? We read every single comment, and your story might be just what someone else needs today. So let's begin. The very first Japanese habit that left me stunned was so simple, yet so powerful, giving every single item a home of its own. Habit 1. The one-touch return. Have you noticed how some things in the house seem to wander away and never come back? The remote control ends up in the kitchen, the reading glasses land on the sofa, and the keys, well, sometimes they feel lost in another world. What if the secret to a mess-free home wasn't more cleaning, but simply this? Everything returns to its place with just one touch. That's what my Japanese friend, a woman in her late 70s, showed me without even trying to teach. I watched her pour tea, and the moment she set the kettle down, she slid it right back to its corner. No hesitation. No, I'll do it later. One touch, and it was home again. She smiled gently and said, "I don't tidy. I just let things go back to where they belong." It struck me deeply because, at my age, I sometimes fear losing track, not only of objects, but of myself. There's a quiet worry many of us over 60 carry. If I can't even keep track of my glasses, what else might slip away tomorrow? But the one-touch return is more than organization. It's a way of reassuring ourselves, moment by moment, that we are still in charge of our space and our lives. I thought about how often I leave things lying around, telling myself I'll deal with them later. And later that small thing turns into a pile that overwhelms me. My friend's habit showed me something different. Clutter isn't built in a day, but in a series of postponed decisions. And peace, too, can be built in the smallest gestures of returning one item home at a time. One elderly neighbor once told me, "At this age, I can't fight chaos in big battles, but I can win little ones every day." That stayed with me, and I began practicing the one-touch return. The result? Less searching, less frustration, and a home that feels lighter without extra effort. You can do this too. Start with just one item. Pick a place for your keys, your remote, or your favorite mug. Every time you finish, bring it back home in one gentle motion. That's it. And once you try it, you might feel a small shift inside, a sense of calm that doesn't come from cleaning harder, but from choosing clarity in the smallest actions. Now, if you think that was simple, wait until you hear about the next Japanese habit. It takes no more than 1 minute, but it can stop clutter before it ever begins. Habit 2. The 1-minute rule. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll put that cup away later," and later somehow never came? One dirty cup becomes 2, then 3, and before you know it, the sink feels like a mountain. The 1-minute rule is a Japanese habit that stops this before it grows. If a task takes less than a minute, do it right now. I first noticed this when visiting an elderly Japanese woman in her 70s. She poured us tea, and one small drop splashed onto the table. Without missing a beat, she reached for a cloth and wiped it gently, then smiled as if it was nothing at all. I asked her why she didn't just wait until later to clean everything at once. She said softly, "Later becomes heavier. Now is always lighter." That line hit me hard, because as I've grown older, I've realized later often means I'll forget, or worse, I'll face a pile of little tasks that suddenly feel impossible. There's a hidden fear many of us over 60 share but rarely say out loud. If I let the little things pile up, maybe one day I won't have the strength to face them at all. And that fear of being buried under clutter is heavier than any cup or dish. For me, the 1-minute rule became more than cleaning. It was a way of proving to myself that I still had control. I began practicing it by rinsing my teacup immediately, hanging up my coat instead of dropping it on a chair, and wiping the bathroom sink as soon as I noticed water spots. Each task took seconds, but it kept my home and my mind clearer. One neighbor, 82 years old, once told me, "My strength is not what it was, but I still win small victories. Every time I do something right away, I feel I haven't lost to time." That stayed with me. You can do this too. Pick just one small action today. Return your cup, fold that blanket, or put your shoes back neatly. Don't wait. Try it once, and notice how much lighter it feels when you don't carry the burden of, "I'll do it later." And here's the beautiful part. When we stop postponing the small tasks, we stop carrying invisible weight on our shoulders. Suddenly, the home feels calmer, and so do we. Now, imagine applying this not just to cups and coats, but to what you choose to keep in your home. The next habit is about deciding what truly deserves to stay and letting go of what only clutters your life. Habit 3. Keep less. Choose wisely. Do you ever open a cabinet and feel your heart sink? Not because it's messy, but because it's simply too full. Too many dishes stacked, too many bottles you never use, too many just-in-case things waiting for a moment that never comes. This habit is one of the simplest yet most powerful Japanese ways to keep a home mess-free. Keep less, but choose wisely. I remember stepping into the kitchen of a Japanese grandmother I once visited. She was 78, living alone, yet her kitchen felt like a soft breath of air. 1 pot, 1 pan, 2 cups, 2 bowls. That was it. Her fridge wasn't crammed with forgotten sauce bottles or vegetables gone soft. Everything inside had a purpose. I asked her if she ever felt like she didn't have enough. She smiled and said, "Enough is lighter than plenty." For many of us, especially over 60, the fear we don't say out loud is this: what if I throw something away and need it later? What if letting go means I'll have less control over my life? That fear keeps drawers packed and closets overflowing until the weight of things we don't use begins to feel heavier than our own bodies. I've been there. I once held on to a blender I never liked, a stack of plates I hadn't touched in 10 years, and a box of clothes I kept just in case I lose weight. But those things didn't give me comfort. They whispered failure and guilt every time I saw them. One day, after seeing that grandmother's kitchen, I asked myself, do I really use this? Does it make my life easier or lighter? If the answer was no, I let it go, and something remarkable happened. My shelves grew lighter, yes, but so did my mind. I didn't need to dig through clutter to find the one bowl I used every day. I didn't need to push past old clothes to hang up the shirt I actually wear. By choosing less, I gained more space to breathe. One older friend told me, I finally let go of half my dishes, and for the first time, I enjoy setting the table again. Too many choices made me tired. That's the wisdom here. Less isn't about sacrifice. It's about creating room for peace. You can do this too. Pick one drawer, one shelf, or even just one cup. Ask yourself, do I really use this? Do I love it? Does it serve me today, not 10 years ago? Start small. Release one item. Notice the lightness that comes with it. And here's the bridge to the next habit. Once we learn to keep less, the daily act of tidying becomes gentler, easier, and even comforting. The Japanese have a beautiful trick for this. Just 5 quiet minutes at night that prepare your home and your heart for tomorrow. Let's talk about that next. Habit 4, the 5-minute night reset. Do you ever go to bed with a heavy feeling, not from your body, but from looking around at the dishes, the chair with clothes draped over it, the crumbs still on the counter? It's such a quiet burden, but it follows us into sleep. This is why the Japanese habit of a simple 5-minute night reset is so powerful. When I visited Mrs. Aiko, an 82-year-old living in a modest apartment in Osaka, I expected to see a strict cleaning schedule or some long routine before bed. But instead, she smiled, finished her tea, and gently said, "Give me 5 minutes." She stood, cleared the 2 cups from the table, wiped the tray, straightened the chairs, and placed her slippers neatly by the door. Exactly 5 minutes later, she sat back down and said softly, "Now my day is complete." What struck me wasn't how spotless the space looked. It was how peaceful her face became. For her, it wasn't about chasing perfection. It was about ending the day with a sense of order. So tomorrow wouldn't begin in yesterday's mess. She told me, "I don't wait for motivation. I just say goodbye to today by returning things to their place." For many of us over 60, the hidden fear is that keeping a clean home requires energy we no longer have, that we'll fall behind and soon the clutter will grow faster than we can keep up. But 5 minutes isn't a burden. It's a gift. A way of telling yourself, I can still create calm. I still have control over my space. I've tried this myself. At first, I thought 5 minutes couldn't possibly matter. But one night I simply washed a cup, wiped the table, and folded a blanket back on the sofa. The next morning, stepping into a tidy corner, my heart felt lighter. I realized it wasn't about the task, it was about the message. Tomorrow deserves a clear beginning. One woman I spoke with, age 70, said, "I can't clean for hours anymore, but I can do 5 minutes. It makes me feel I'm not falling behind." And that's the truth. It's not about doing everything, it's about doing just enough to remind yourself you're still in charge. You can do this too. Tonight, before bed, set a timer for 5 minutes. Pick 2 or 3 small things, a dish, a chair, a blanket, and bring them back into place. Don't rush, don't aim for perfect. Just close the day gently. And here's what makes it even more beautiful. When every corner of your home has a clear purpose, those 5 minutes become easier, smoother, and almost automatic. In fact, the next Japanese habit is all about that. Giving each space in your home a simple, sacred role. Let's move into that together. Habit 5. Every space has its purpose. Have you ever felt like your home is too small, even when you don't actually have that much stuff? It's a quiet frustration many of us carry. The dining table becomes a place for bills, the sofa is for eating, the kitchen counter turns into a desk. Before we know it, everything overlaps and nothing feels restful. I remember visiting Mrs. Sato, a 76-year-old widow in Yokohama. Her home wasn't large, but it carried a kind of calmness the moment I stepped in. The dining table had only one role, meals. The living room corner was just for tea and reading. Her bedroom, nothing but sleep. No piles of laundry on chairs, no half-read books stacked on the kitchen counter. When I asked her why, she smiled and said, "Each space has its own voice. If I confuse them, my mind gets confused too." That stayed with me. Because deep down, the unspoken fear many seniors share is not about clutter itself, it's about losing clarity. When spaces blur, life feels blurred. We forget where things belong, or even what part of the day we're in. And for those of us over 60, that loss of clarity feels a little too close to losing independence. Personally, I used to eat breakfast on the sofa while sorting mail on the table. At first it felt convenient, but over time, my living room became stressful instead of restful. Seeing Mrs. Sato's way showed me that reclaiming purpose in each space doesn't require money or energy, it just requires intention. She told me, "When I sit at the table, my body knows it is time to eat. When I lie in bed, my mind knows it is time to rest. My home guides me." I began trying this myself. I cleared the dining table and promised it would only be for meals. The first week, it felt strange, but then something shifted. Eating at the table, without papers or clutter around me, made the food taste better. It made the space feel generous again. You can do this too. Choose one space, a chair, a table, a counter, and give it back its true purpose. One woman in her 80s once told me, "I can't make my home bigger, but I can make each corner feel enough." Isn't that what we all want? Not more space, but more peace inside the space we already have. And the beautiful part is, when your spaces each carry their own gentle role, tomorrow becomes easier to step into. Which leads us directly to the next Japanese habit, preparing for tomorrow, tonight. It's a small act, but it can lift the weight off your mornings. Let's explore that together. Habit 6. Prepare for tomorrow, tonight. Do your mornings ever feel heavier than they should, like you're already behind the moment you open your eyes? Many of us over 60 know that feeling too well. searching for keys, fumbling with clothes, forgetting where we placed a letter. It's not just inconvenient, it steals our calm. I remember sitting with Mrs. Tanaka, a soft-spoken woman in her 70s who had lived alone for more than a decade. After dinner, instead of sinking into the sofa like I usually do, she quietly moved around her small apartment. She laid out her clothes for the next day on a chair, filled a glass of water and placed it by her bedside, checked that the doors were locked, and straightened the slippers by the entryway. I asked if she did this every evening. She smiled and said, "I clear tomorrow's path tonight. So when morning comes, I only need to walk it." That simple sentence felt like a truth I hadn't put into words. Many older adults fear mornings not because of age, but because of the chaos that greets them. Behind that is a quiet dread. What if I forget something important? What if I can't keep up anymore? Mrs. Tanaka showed me that preparing is not about control, it's about kindness to our future selves. I tried it myself. The first night, I placed a folded shirt and a glass of water by my bed. The next morning, instead of rushing, I felt oddly cared for. It was as if my past self was whispering, "You're ready." That feeling stayed with me all day. You can do this too. Start small. Choose one thing tonight. Lay out your socks. Set the kettle with water. Clear a little space on the counter. Each tiny step is like sending a gift forward. One senior once told me, "When I prepare at night, my mornings stop being battles. They become gentle beginnings." Isn't that what we all long for? Not grand gestures, but mornings that let us breathe with ease. And the beauty is this: when you prepare for tomorrow, you also teach your home to hold you up instead of weigh you down. It's a quiet act of self-respect, and it makes aging feel less like losing control and more like regaining rhythm. So tonight, before bed, ask yourself, what's one little thing I can do now so tomorrow greets me with peace instead of pressure? Write it down, try it, and see how light it feels. And as we move to the final Japanese habit, there's one more lesson that ties all of these together. It's not about cleaning at all, it's about gratitude. And you may be surprised how much it changes the way your home feels. Shall we step into that? Habit 7, gratitude for every item. Do you ever look around your home and feel weighed down by the very things meant to make life easier? A pile of dishes, clothes you never wear, drawers filled with items you can't remember buying. It's not just clutter, it's a quiet heaviness. I once visited Mrs. Akiyama, an 82-year-old widow in Kyoto. After tea, I noticed something unusual. Each time she put away a cup or folded a towel, she paused for a second, touched it gently, and whispered, "Arigato." Thank you. It wasn't a ritual she performed for show. It was a habit. She told me, "When I thank my things, they don't feel like burdens, they feel like companions." That struck me deeply. Many of us in our 60s or beyond fear losing control, our homes slowly turning into places too heavy to manage. But what if the way to lighten the load isn't only about throwing things out, but about changing how we see them? Mrs. Akiyama didn't keep much, but what she kept felt loved. And because of that, her home carried a sense of peace. I tried this myself. Folding laundry, I whispered, "Thank you for keeping me warm." Placing down my glasses, I thought, "Thank you for helping me see." At first it felt silly, but within days, my home felt different. Less like a battlefield, more like an ally. You can do this too. The next time you put away even the smallest thing, a spoon, a shirt, a book, pause and thank it. That moment doesn't just clean your home, it clears a little space in your heart. A senior friend once told me, "I used to feel guilty for having too much. Now, when I thank what I use, I no longer feel guilty. I feel grateful." Isn't that a gentle shift we all need? Gratitude makes even an old house smell fresh, not because of fragrance, but because of kindness. And here's the quiet truth. When you practice gratitude with your belongings, you also practice gratitude with yourself. You begin to see that you too are not a burden, but someone still worth thanking. So tonight, as you put something away, try it. Whisper your thanks. Notice how lighter you feel. And as we bring all 7 habits together, I want to show you how these small Japanese ways can weave into one powerful rhythm for aging with ease. So your home isn't just tidy, but a place that breathes with you. Shall we tie it all together? Your home doesn't need to impress. It just needs to let you breathe easier. I remember the quiet words of an elderly Japanese woman I once visited. After folding a towel and setting it gently on the shelf, she smiled and said, "When my home is light, my heart feels lighter too. It wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about how others saw her home. It was about how her space gave her peace. And maybe that's the message we all need today. You're not behind. You're simply ready. And you can do this too. No matter your age, no matter how messy things may feel right now, there's always room to begin with one small step. Let's remember the 7 habits we walked through together. The one-touch return, where every item finds its way home. The 1-minute rule, where small tasks are done right away. The practice of keeping less, but choosing wisely. The 5-minute night reset that clears your mind before sleep, giving every space a clear purpose so it serves you well. Preparing tomorrow, starting tonight, so your mornings flow with ease. And finally, gratitude for every item, turning objects into companions rather than burdens. Each habit is simple, almost too small to notice, but when they come together, they give us something priceless, a sense of control, a sense of calm, and the quiet belief that our home isn't just a building, but a place with soul, a place that carries us through the years with dignity and lightness. So I want to ask you gently, which habit will you try first? Share it below. You might inspire someone else who's also searching for a lighter way to live. We read every single comment, and sometimes your words are exactly what another person needs to keep going. Until next time, be kind to your space and even kinder to yourself.